Hi friends, and welcome to Chapter 4 of the Forest Wanderer costume series. Today we will be making a dress. I designed this dress to be a wrap dress, and I took inspiration for the bodice from this Jedi costume. The dress is a jade green, which actually I think I like to call it a moss green because I have had this recent obsession with moss, with forest green accents. It's very embroidery heavy and features pockets. I started with some fabric dye samples. I was testing different combinations of golden yellow, indigo, dark green, and apple green Rit dye. In the end, I went with these two samples. Now with this being cotton muslin, I knew the dyeing wouldn't be too even, and I was okay with the texture because I thought it looked cool, just so long as it wasn't like, you know. I don't quite remember the formulas I used for these colors because apparently they aren't in my notes, but from memory I think the forest green is a combo of dark green and apple green, and the moss/jade green is apple green and a whole bottle of golden yellow. Then I took a huge break from this project to costume Fiddler on the Roof, and I was too intimidated to do a mock-up, so instead I made a periwinkle bathing suit. When I finally came to my senses, I started my mock-up by draping it on my dress form, and then I quickly realized that I was no longer as big as my dress form, especially when corseted, so I did a block pattern instead and drew my reference lines, and I'm not sure why I didn't just do this in the first place because it was so much easier. The mock-up from the dress form wasn't completely pointless because that's how I got the back of the bodice marked, so not a complete loss there. Alright guys, if my voice sounds weird, that's because I'm sick. Anyway, so this is my third mock-up, and the idea with this bodice is that there's going to be two of these pieces, and they're going to cross over each other in the front and in the back, so that it creates like this kind of wrap dress effect. So here's what the front looks like, and here's what the back looks like. And I have not yet drawn on all my seams and decorations. It looks kind of simple right now, but there's going to be like pin tucks and some quilting. I don't know. It's just going to be very decorative. The only actual seam that's going to be on this bodice will be the side seam. I'm not going to have this shoulder seam. I just couldn't fit the entire mock-up pattern onto my mock-up fabrics. Alright, here are the markings that I've made. Once I was satisfied with my bodice, I cut it out of my moss fabric. My first task was to situate those pin tucks, so I did so using two pieces of 10 by 14 inch fabric, creating 4 3/4 inch pin tucks on each. Then I stay stitched the edges. And press them into a curve to fit my pattern and attach them to the bodice by method of top stitching. Then I joined my panels with a machine felled stitch and stitched up the side seams. Then I marked my decorative stitching and just did a top stitch for that. With the bodice like this, I decided to work on the skirt for a bit. I cut 2 panels of a 30.5 inch long skirt, with the bottoms measuring 60 inches and the top measuring 20 inches. Then I marked with a pin where my pockets were, and then I sewed up to that point. I hemmed the skirt simply with a rolled hem And to gather the top, I did my own special method, which I like to refer to as imitation cartridge pleats, where I do 3 rows of visible stitching and gather them all together. I just like how neat and tight it looks on the skirt, and it's a very fast way to kind of cheat cartridge pleats. Gather that down to an inch or 2 more than half of your waist measurement, so the skirt will overlap. And I like to tie off my threads to keep it at the right length. Then I cut 2 strips of fabric for the waistband, 2 inches wide and 4 by 25 inch strips for the ties, also 2 inches wide. First, I made my ties, then I stitched them to my skirt ends, and then I closed them in with the waistband. Hand finished the ends of the ties and the inside of the waistband. Now we have a completed skirt. Ahoy there, mateys. This is just for fun, but this is what we have so far. I love the way it turned out. I mean, obviously it's not finished yet. I'm going to be adding a belt, which will go around, or I guess it's more of like a sash that goes around the front out of this, I don't have it with me, but the forest green fabric. And it's going to kind of come to a point in the front. And let's see, so here's the back. Alright, so before I take off the dress, I just decided to do a mock-up for the little sash thing that I'm making, and I think I'm just going to make this out of the forest green fabric and line it with some canvas to have a nice stiffness to it, and maybe put 1 or 2 bones in the front. Honestly, I'm just kind of making this up as I go along, because that's part of being a designer, but yeah, so that's my plan. So I've just mocked up the front half, or at least the front quarter, I guess. And then the back is just going to be straight. There's no point in the back, so it's probably just going to be like a 2-inch strip, so I'll figure out a pattern. But anyway, the finished pattern will probably kind of look like a little crown. Then I stitched my sash together. The sash was originally going to be 1 piece, but I didn't have enough fabric to cut it out in 1 long piece, so there's just seams at the sides. Okay, so here's everything I have so far. I've got my skirt finished, and I have got both sides of my bodice, well, not really finished. I still have this raw edge, and then I need to finish the sleeves. And then I have stitched together both pieces of my sash. And I guess it'd be nice of me to finish these edges first, so I think I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'm just going to jump straight into all the embroidery. So I'm going to be using a method called free motion embroidery, and I did a tutorial on my channel of this, so for this video I'm only just going to have like montage clips. So if you're interested in the process of free motion embroidery, go watch the tutorial and educate yourself. And now allow me to introduce you to my most iconic wardrobe piece. This is the moss jacket. This is a jacket my mom gave me, and she called it a moss jacket because it was moss green, and I was like, well, what's the point of a moss jacket if it doesn't have moss on it? So I've been embroidering this for a couple months now, and I have quite loved, I really loved all these little patches and things, and I kind of wanted to incorporate it into this dress because, well, it didn't start out as an obsession, but I guess it's an obsession now, but I kind of have this thing for moss because not a lot of it grows where I live, so every time I see it I just get like really excited, and it's just one of those things in life that makes me happy. So I'm turning this dress into a moss dress, so I'm gonna add moss to my dress. To make the hand-embroidered moss, I took the scraps of fabric from my dress and shredded them in the washing machine, and then I secured them to the dress with a series of French knots. I also made a layer of my sash from some canvas for stability and top-stitched it to the front of the sash. I basted that with my serger and then hand-stitched the lining. And when I say hand-stitched the lining, I mean I machine sewed the lining to the top of the waistband, and then I flipped it and pressed it and then hand stitched it down along just the bottom edge where it kind of has that curve. Actually, no, I didn't. I did it the other way around. Never mind. Stop. Don't. When I say I hand stitched the... Let me just go get it. Okay, what did I do? Okay, so it looks like I machine stitched it along the bottom, which I remember I did that because it was a very tricky curve, which would be hard to hand stitch. So I left the hand stitching to the top, but you can't really see that because I used like a very blind, a blind stitch. So yeah, so I machine stitched the bottom edge, and then I just turned down the top edges and then blind stitched that all the way across. Then I added grommets to my side for closures, and I decided to go with this really pretty dusty antique gold color. Alright, so I have just finished putting the eyelets in the side seam of my dress, and I've gone ahead and I've just laced it up with some black ribbon, and now I'm just kind of holding my sash up to myself, and then I just put a pin where it overlaps in the back. So the last thing I need to do is just sew hook and eyes for closures for this, and the dress should be complete. And I kind of like the way it looks without the sash as well. And I'm in love with my little moss. Well, friends, I hope you have enjoyed that video. Thank you so much for your patience. I know I have not been uploading as often as I normally do, but know that I love you, and I do love making videos for you guys, so thanks for sticking around and supporting me. Life just gets busy, and sewing takes a long time, so thanks for your patience, and I hope to see you in the next video where I'll be making the sword sheath for this costume, which I'm really excited about, and I'll keep you up to date on my sewing adventures. You can follow me on Instagram for some behind the scenes footage, portfolio pictures, and yeah, so bye, see you later, or something. What do I say? Have a wonderful day. Love you, bye.
Construction happening.
The sash was this forest green binding. What am I even reading? Oh, yeah. Okay. Then I joined my parents. What does that say? Panels. Chicken. Come here, chicken. Come here, chicken. Looks like cabbage soup.
Yum!
I'm okay. Never climbed a tree in a corset before.